Welcome back to some more Umineko When They Cry. So, where we last left off, there was very, some crazy shit. You know, Rosa neglecting Maria and just straight up just left her, like in the middle of the rain because she had enough of her shit because because Maria was trying to find a wilting rose, despite all that. And then, but it all made up in the end, and all of a sudden, like Maria had the umbrella, but it was not by no one gave it to her. So Maria just yapping her mouth, saying that it was Beatrice. Oh man, this is what happens when I haven't recorded in so long. Holy shit. Anyway, let's continue reading. Can the weather change how people act? You often hear stories about how things like atmospheric pressure can influence people's moods and physical health. For some time now, everyone had been struggling to clear the gloomy atmosphere, but any conversation was quickly cut off, and in the end, the dining hall was simply filled by the sound of the rain. Dessert was some kind of chocolate cake accompanied by pear sherbet. Pretty good, I must say. Golda-san enthusiastically explained the recipe as soon as this final dish was presented, but I quickly forgot the details. Well, good for you. The guest of honor, grandfather, was absent. The weather was horrible, and the identity of the one who had lent Maria an umbrella remained a mystery. You might as well drop it and just pretend nothing happened. When dinner ended, no one felt even one bit refreshed. Well, that's unfortunate. It was too late now, but I realized painfully that taste wasn't the only important part of the meal. The whole atmosphere was also critical. Goda-san, the supposed conductor of this musical piece called Dinner, did his best to enliven the place, dropping little jokes left and right, but apparently not one of them succeeded. Sorry about that. After taking orders for after dinner coffee, tea, and orange After taking orders for after dinner coffee, tea, and oranges, he left for the kitchen. As soon as he disappeared, Uncle Kraus spoke.
やれやれ。
Why do you say that?
せっかくゴーダが腕を振るってくれた晩餐も、こうも沈み込んでしまっては実に味気ないというものだ。
Yeah, I wonder why. Why is that?
まったくね。今日は何を食べても美味しく感じられない、そういう気分よ。
I don't know about that.
ほう。どうしてそういう気分なのか聞きたいね。心が晴れ晴れできるよう、兄として後で協力させてもらうよ。
Aunt Eva grimaced slightly. I'd already heard she wasn't on good terms with Uncle Kraus, but it was pretty clear now. When I looked around, I noticed that my father and Aunt Rosa were also grimacing. Apparently, there was something besides the weather troubling all of them. Well then, Jesus.
エヴァおばさんもうちの親父もずいぶん機嫌が悪そうっすね。
Yeah, let's just try to lighten up things.
そう？私はそうは思いませんよ。
What do you mean I don't think so? It looks like they're not getting along, apparently. This considering the atmosphere is just quiet and gloomy. I asked Aunt Nasuki, who was sitting on my right, but she seemed to be in a bad mood as well. She snapped back as if to say she was absolutely not interested. I, I can't blame it.
まあ、ちょいと大人な話で込み入ってな。
It sure is a bit more complicated than that. Holy fuck.
バトラ君たち子供は気にせんでええ話や。はははは。なあ、夏日さん、桐江さん。
Uncle Hideyoshi laughed as he spoke, but without his usual brightness, so I could vaguely imagine just how complicated their adult conversation had become. On top of that, even Aunt Natsuki and Kairi-san, the people he had directed his comment to, ignored him as though they hadn't heard anything. I didn't know what kind of conversation they'd been having while us kids were away, but it reminded me of how Dad said he had stumping. My bad. It reminded me of how Dad said he had stomach cramps when we arrived at the mansion. The family conference might have been a playful reunion to us kids, but it was definitely different for the adults. After Uncle Hideyoshi's comment was ignored by the other adults and an awkward silence fell over the room, Kairi-san spoke up.
子供たちの進路はどうなるのかしらとか、そういう話よ。バトラ君は将来はどうするの？ぼんやりと大学進学？そんなのじゃ長い人生レースのスタートラインとしては心細いわよ。
あいたたたたたった。
It's like, wait a second.
キリエさん、飯の最中にそんな話されちまったら、消化不良で便秘になっちまうぜ。
そうやそうや。バトラ君やジェシカちゃんの進路の話をしとったんや。将来のことは真剣に考えんとあかんで。
I'm pretty sure Jessica doesn't really give a shit about her future, comparing to what Badler has been up to. I mean, you've all seen we've all seen the previous parts. Hideyoshi heartily agreed as if they really had been talking about that, but that was probably wrong. Kairi-san had been obviously trying to change the subject. However, if Kairi-san had determined that this was the best course of action for now, then she was probably right. Taking this into account, I cast aside my suspicions as to the cause behind Aunt Eva and Dad's bad moods. At long last, the serving cart returned, filled with coffee and tea. Kumasawa-san and Shannon-chan served it to everyone. Goda-san then explained that this concluded tonight's meal. If only the mood had been a bit more cheery, it might have been the best dinner of my life. No shit. It was a shame this best of dinners couldn't have been had under the best conditions.
ジョージお兄ちゃん、これでご飯は終わり？
Might as well.
終わり？
うん。これでおしまいだよ。
Sounds great. Now we can just go back to our beds.
はしてないわよ。お席について、落ち着いてジュースを飲みなさい。
What? Why do we have to stay in our seats? What the fuck?
はーい。
I don't know if the ooh will have to piss her off again, like the last couple parts. Jesus. You know what happened with that when it comes to Rosa? Holy shit. Maria looked like she was really excited by the occasionally crashing thunder. Maybe she wanted to quickly finish eating and run over to the window. She had been fidgeting for a while, waiting for the meal to end. Well, some people are afraid of thunder, while others find it interesting, and Maria was apparently one of the latter's sorts. Therefore, when she heard from George Aniki that dinner was over, a huge smile broke across her face. She then rose from her seat, took out her handbag, which she'd set under her seat, never having left it even while she was eating, and began fishing around inside of it. No one seemed particularly concerned by this behavior.
なんだいそれは。
Well, except for George. George is like, what the fuck?
どこから持ってきたの？
George was the first to notice it. As he spoke, Badler noticed too. They saw that Maria was now holding a beautiful Western-style envelope. That wasn't there from before. On the front of the envelope, the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, was done in gold leaf. Furthermore, the fact that it was sealed with dark red wax made it clear that this wasn't something Maria could have brought as a prank.
マリアちゃん、それは何？
Oh shit. It seemed that Natsuki had also noticed the strangeness of the envelope Maria was holding. Her voice sounded too serious for someone admonishing a small child, so the relatives around us finally noticed too.
どうしたよ、夏日姉さん。
それ、何？
マリア、あなた、それをどこで拾ったの？
The question is, where had she picked up the envelope from? I bet Beatrice snuck that thing in.
その封筒は金蔵さんの。
When Nanjo muttered that even us kids could understand why everyone seemed to be frozen solid, the envelope that Maria held was one of the Ushiramiya family head's custom-made envelopes for private use. In other words, it could only mean one thing. This envelope contained a message from Kinzo.
ほう。どうしてそんな封筒がここにあるんだね。
こいつは面白いもんが飛び出してくるぜ。
ちょいとわしに見せてみ。
ダメ！マリアが読むの！マリアがみんなに読んで聞かせなさいって言われたの！
Uncle Hideyoshi tried to snatch the envelope out from Maria's hands, but she protected it as though hugging it and didn't let go.
秀吉兄さん、子供相手に力ずくなんていけませんよ。マリアちゃん、その封筒はどうしたの？
That's the exact question I'm trying to ask you.
傘を貸してくれた時にベアトリーチェにもらった。
I knew it!
ご飯が終わったらマリアがみんなに読んで聞かせろって言われた。マリアは魔女のメッセンジャーなの。
Whoa, shit. Maria being the witch's messenger.
メッセンジャー？この島の魔女様は随分と洒落てるじゃねえかよ。
Oh, I'm pretty sure she's not fucking around. Battler tried to joke about it, but no one laughed.
それで中には何て書いてあるのかしら、マリアちゃん。
読む。
Maria casually opened the envelope. It was sealed only with wax, so she just had to remove the sealing wax to open it. That sealing wax fell onto the desk. Hideyoshi hastily picked it up and stared fixedly at it. He then set it in the center of the table where Natsuki, Kairi, and Nanjo stared at it. Imprinted in the sealing wax was the one-winged eagle, which was the Ushiromiya family crest and also Kinzo's personal crest.
これは当主様の紋章？
私は金蔵さんに手紙をもらったことがあるからわかる。これは間違いなく金蔵さんの風浪だ。
でもこのお屋敷にはそれと同じ紋章がいくつもあるのでは？例えば風浪用のハンコのようなものがあれば、金蔵さんでなくても風浪はできるのでは？
いや、金蔵さんは風浪には必ず自分が指にしている後ろ宮家当主の証の指輪で刻印をする。 この形や複雑な衣装は間違いなく金蔵さんの風浪だ。
そうとは限らんよ。親族であれば一度くらいは親父の手紙を受け取ったことはあるはずだ。その風浪をもとに偽の紋章を作り、親父殿を語って刻印した可能性が否めない。
兄貴に同感だ。
Oh, you actually agreed on with them for once.
風浪に刻印されている紋章がどれだけ親父のものに酷似していたとしても、間違いなく親父のものであるとは証明不能だぜ。だからその封筒が親父のものであるという証拠にはならない。
私も全く同じよ。風浪の刻印だけでお父様の手紙だなんて決めつけることには同意できないわ。南條先生、曖昧な言葉は慎んでいただけるかしら。
これは失礼。出過ぎた口でしたな。
One after another, all of the siblings from Kraus on downwards rejected Nanjo's statement, saying that the envelope Maria held wasn't necessarily from Kinzo. They were afraid. They feared from the bottom of their hearts that Kinzo's intentions were written in there, and that it might be some announcement regarding their inheritance that would be decidedly unfavorable to them.
マリア、その封筒は傘を貸してくれた人がくれたのね。
I'll take it as a yes.
じゃわからないでしょ。そうなの？
つまり魔女ベアトリーチェが傘と一緒にマリアちゃんにその封筒を。
What a way to convey the message. Maria nodded forcefully.
主人に私も同感です。得体の知れない何者かが手渡した怪文書です。読むにも値しません。
But it is. We want to know.
せめて読むくらいいいじゃねえかよ。なあ。
Yeah, like what can possibly go wrong? Ballard said it to Jessica in a small voice, trying to act tough, but Natsuki heard him clearly and glared at him with threatening eyes.
それでマリアはベアトリーチェに食事が終わったら読めって言われたんだな。
There's one hell of a serious look on her face.
いいじゃないの皆さん。これはおじい様の封筒ではなくベアトリーチェの封筒。誰が書いたのかはともかく中身を聞いてからの判断でもいいんじゃないかしら。
そうやな。お父さんが書いたとは限らんが、中身が気になるのは事実や。マリアちゃん、さっきは無理やり取ろうとしてすまんかった。謝るからみんなの前でそれ読み上げてくれんか。
マリア、読みなさい。
As all the relatives stared fiercely at Maria, she spread the letter open with a rustle.
本当に親父の手紙だと思うか？
I mean, considering that Kinzo hates all of you guys, like, I don't see. I don't see why not.
ありえんね。親父殿が私たちに何かを発表するときは直接でなければいつだって源氏さんを通してじゃないか。このようなこじゃれた方法でするとは思えんね。
Yes, it's official. He's going to prank you guys, but this time the prank is actually lethal.
そうよ。マリアをメッセンジャーに？それこそお父様の趣味じゃないわよ。ローザ、これはマリアちゃんが私たちを脅かそうという何かの隠し芸なんでしょ？マリアはそんな気の利いたことができる子じゃないわ。
Oh boy. The words came out of Maria's mouth, but for some reason her voice seemed different than usual. Yeah, looks it looks like she's possessed. Everyone went suddenly silent.
六軒島へようこそ、後宮家の皆様方。
Oh shit.
私は金蔵様にお仕えしております、当家顧問錬金術師のベアトリーチェと申します。
It sounds like something possessed her and then her voice turned different.
そんなアホな。
黙って。
長年にわたりご契約に従いお仕えしてまいりましたが、本日金蔵様よりその契約の終了を宣告されました。よって本日をもちまして当家顧問錬金術師のお役目を終了させていただきますことをどうかご了承くださいませ。
くだらん。ざれ言だ。
Kraus, just shut up.
聞くに耐えません。
But we need to listen to this more. What Beatrice has to say.
さてここで皆様に契約の一部をご説明しなければなりません。私ベアトリーチェは金蔵様にある条件とともに莫大な黄金の貸与をいたしました。
Certain terms.
その条件とは、契約終了時に黄金のすべてを返還すること。そして利息として後宮家のすべてを頂戴できるというものです。
むちゃくちゃや。
初めっからむちゃくちゃだぜ。
要するにあれだろ？よくある悪魔の契約みたいなやつなんだろ？ほんで契約がおしまいってことになるから利子を回収に来たってわけだ。いや長年の退職金のつもりかな。
For old kind of. Oh, I don't think it's a good time to joke around with that.
ちゃっかりした魔女だぜ。
Oh shit.
バトラ君、今は茶化さない方がいい。
Balor made a face as if to ask, if I can't make fun of this, what can I make fun of? Some of the adults' faces were pale, while others looked dazed.
これだけをお聞きならば、皆様は金蔵様のことをなんと無慈悲なのかとお嘆きにもなられるでしょう。しかし金蔵様は皆様に富と名誉を残す機会を設けるため特別な条項を追加されました。その条項が満たされた時に限り、私は黄金と利子を回収する権利を永遠に失います。
So you be telling me that Maria had been putting on this fake persona the whole time, but whenever Maria is into witchcraft, she pulls on this actual voice.
特別な条項？
Special clause?
それは何よ。
特別条項。契約終了時にベアトリーチェは黄金と利子を回収する権利を持つ。ただし隠された契約の黄金を暴いた者が現れた時、ベアトリーチェはこの権利を全て永遠に放棄しなければならない。利子の回収はこれより行いますが、もし皆様のうちの誰か一人でも特別条項を満たせたなら、すでに回収した分も含めて全てお返しいたします。なお回収の手始めとしてすでに後宮本家の家督を受け継いだことを示す後宮家当主の指輪をお預かりさせていただきました。封印のろうそくにてそれをどうかご確認くださいませ。
これがそうだというのか。親父が指輪を手放すなどありえん。
Krause stared at the ceiling wax as they're trying to burn a hole through it. Eva and Rudolph were doing the same over his shoulder.
確かにチェスの時、金蔵さんの指に何か足りんような違和感は感じ取りました。
南條先生、おぼろげな記憶でいい加減なことを言わないように。
その心眼をここでは測れないわ。本当に指輪をお父様は確かに手渡したのか、この手紙が本当の話かどうかはお父様に直接確認すればいいだけの話じゃない。
そうね。桐江さんの言う通りだわ。
果たして金蔵さんがそれを答えてくれますかな。あの人のお考えは時に人の世の常識では測りかねますから
な。どの道ざれ言の域を出んね。第一、黄金幻想自体が親父殿のまやかしだ。ありもしない黄金の話を始めるのはお前たちだけで十分だ。
Oh boy, Krause is pissed.
でも魔女様はおっしゃってるわよ。
Yeah, Krause has enough of this shit.
黄金を見つけた者に家督と全ての財産を引き渡すってね。つまりベアトリーチェ様はお父様の顧問弁護士もしくは金庫番でもあられるってことじゃないのかしら。このような怪しげな文章を子供に託すような怪人物を信用することなどできません。
兄貴、腹を割ってもらうぜ。兄貴の知らない人物が親父の財産管理をしてるようなことはあり得るのか。
いや、それはない。私は当主代行として親父殿の全ての財産を把握している。私に知られずにそれらを自由にできる人間はいないはずだ。
I love the look on his face. It's like there's no way I was the one who controlled my father's assets.
じゃあつまりクラウス兄さんの把握していない財産ってことじゃないの？
バカな！そんなものあるわけがない。
Well, it sounds like you got called out.
あるわよ。
兄さんが把握していないお父様の資産。
そんなものあるわけがありません。
いや、あるで。それがお父さんの、いや、ベアトリーチェの隠し宝庫や。
話を整頓しよう。つまり親父には兄貴も知らない腹心がいた。そしてそいつはずっと黄金の番と運用を任されてきたわけだ。あるいは悪魔の契約まがいのルールで融資した神塚の大富豪か。
Bruh, the music is where I couldn't even take you seriously.
その腹心のベアトリーチェさんは自分の黄金を融資する相手として息子兄弟の誰がふさわしいか試したいということなのかしら。
Oh my. Getting the... It's not only Kenzo's children, even the grandchildren is getting involved with this. Kyrie's question was one that all the siblings wanted answered. Upon reflection, they realized that Kinzo's strange epitaph had hung in the hall beneath the witch's portrait for quite some time, and while it had long been whispered that whoever solved the puzzle would receive everything, no one had ever clearly stated it. It was just something that everyone had hoped might be true. And right here, right now, the thing they'd hoped for had been clearly stated in Beatrice's letter. It clearly specified that everything of the Ushiramiya family would be given to the one who found the gold.
黄金の隠し場所については、すでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されております。条件は、碑文を読むことができる者すべてに公平に。
Yep, everyone is involved.
黄金を暴けたなら、私はすべてをお返しするでしょう。
In which everyone has to participate.
それではどうか今宵を、金蔵様との知恵比べにて、存分にお楽しみくださいませ。今宵が知的かつ優雅な夜になるよう、心よりお祈りいたしております。黄金のベアトリーチェ。
What a message.
お父さん、聞こえているはずです。返事をしてください。
The door to Kinzo's study was being violently, harshly beaten against over and over again, like a percussion instrument. The yells coming from the other side belonged to Kraus, Rudolph, and sometimes Eva. It was the siblings who were trying to intrude upon Kinzo's study to question him about the truth behind that mysterious letter. Kinzo was eating. An elegant tablecloth was set over the desk, and the fabulous dinner that had adorned the table down in the dining hall was reproduced here. Kinzo continued his meal in silence. Shannon, taking away an empty plate, looked uncomfortably between the door being pounded on and Kinzo's face.
皆さんがお呼びですが、いかがいたしますか？
捨ておけ。神と我が晩餐は沈黙を尊ぶ。
Yeah, by the way, Kinzo's voice of the same VA as the head of the seal, or however you pronounce it, from Evangelion. I'm still... Well, I'm almost done with the TV series. I've got the movies of Evangelion to catch up on. Other than that, continuing on, Kinzo just sitting there is like, well, let me just eat in peace.
黙らせますか。
必要ない。我が耳には届いておらぬ。
Kinzo is just straight up trolling them. What a troll for for um, for grandpops. Kinzo enjoyed his food, apparently indifferent. Genji quietly lowered his head and took a single step back. As he did, Kanon, who stood in reserve like a shadow behind and to the side of Genji, opened his mouth.
マリア様がベアトリーチェ様より手紙を受け取られたとのことで、その真偽を確かめたいのでしょう。
あやつめ、早速始めおったか。さあベアトリーチェ、かけるコインに不足はあるまい。存分に今宵を楽しもうではないか。負ける気はないぞ。お前の微笑みは永遠に私のものだ。もう一度見られるなら、富も名誉も我が命すらも惜しくはない。さて、ルーレットは回り始めた。ボールはどのポケットに落ちるのか。ノワールかルージュか、それとも親の総取りか。さあ始めるがいい、ベアトリーチェ。私が再びお前に奇跡の力というものを見せてやる。
And this ends just like that. The clock moved forward more, and it is 10 p.m. October 4th, 1986. Legend of the Gold. Well, I will pause it real quick because I need to refill my drink, so I'll be right back. And we're back. So after that message read out, seems everything will begin. Oh boy, this will be exciting. The strange letter that the witch had entrusted to Maria wiped all memories of dinner from our minds. Maria was repeatedly barraged with questions by Aunt Rosa and the other parents, and became increasingly ill-tempered when they refused to believe her. If we kids tried to butt in, they'd probably ignore us. Our parents were all stirred up, firing back and forth about the gold and the distribution of the assets, and completely forgetting that we were even there. Yeah, we're just sitting there, hearing that fucking firing involved. I'd already guessed they'd been talking like this in the shadows, but I hadn't thought they'd be so blunt. It gave all of us kids a considerable shock. From what we could overhear, all the parents wanted more money as soon as possible. Well, what a surprise. Back and forth about grandfather's inheritance, back and forth about the distribution of the gold if it was found, about advance payments in cash. It was so despicable I could hardly bear to watch, even though one of them was my father. It looked like Jessica felt the same way. We left our seats without being asked to and went to hang out somewhere well away from our parents.
なるほどな。じい様が飯の席にも顔を出したくない理由がよーくわかったよ。
Well then.
うちの親たちにはすっかり幻滅だぜ。金だの遺産だの。よくもまああそこまで大っぴらに。
Jessica has enough of your shit.
俺の場合はクソ親父に幻滅しきってるからよ。
Like the goofball you are.
これ以上評価の下がりようがないぜ。
そんなの私だって同じだぜ。しかし今夜のには呆れたぜ。心底呆れたぜ。
Jessica looked down at the floor, irritated. She was always talking about how bad her parents were, but maybe she hadn't really felt that way deep inside. The depths of Jessica's shock made that clear.
未成年の君たちはご両親に養育してもらってるからわからないだろうけど、お金を得るというのは単純な綺麗事じゃないよ。未成年である今にそれを理解しろとは言わない。でもご両親なりに何かの努力をしていることだけは認めてあげてほしいな。
I don't know about that. It seems a little bit too serious for us.
やれやれ。ジョージの兄貴は人間ができてるぜ。
ジョージ兄さんは社会人になってバリバリ働いてるけどよ。金とか財産とかそういう話になったら、うちの親父たちみたいに強欲むき出しのハゲタカになれるってのかよ。
Oh, she just made that assumption. Greedy vulture.
自分だけの話だったらそんなことはしたくないよ。でも家族や社員、部下やその家族の生活を背負ったら戦わなければならない時もあるかもしれない。
私はそんな戦い嫌だぜ。小さまの遺産がどうのこうのなんて話、ヘドが出るぜ。
Jessica pretended to spit violently. That harsh reaction made the depths of her pain very clear.
もうこの話はやめようぜ。じい様の隠し黄金がどうのこうの、財産だ遺産だって話は親たちの問題で俺たちの問題じゃないさ。
Yeah, I agree.
僕も同感だよ。
He said the same thing as me. Oh man, that's what I love about this VN. It sometimes like it agrees. It can read my mind, or sometimes like I'll be like, yeah, well, that is some pretty meaningful stuff.
せめて気を利かせて親たちの話し合いを邪魔しないのが子供の務めだと思うね。
Oh boy.
なんだか面白くねえぜ。
Everyone knows the phrase, adults are filthy. But we had now seen that for ourselves, and that really did give us a considerable shock. George Aniki was now pretty much an adult, and I'd already been disillusioned with my dad, so the shock wasn't that big for us. But Jessica seemed to be taking it hard. Apparently, she'd received a bigger blow than I thought. She always talks badly about her parents, but it looks like she hadn't changed at all on the inside. Even now, she's still a pure-hearted, delicate person who can't doubt others. I'm sure she respected her parents as much as anyone else does. And then her parents started raging about going, money, money, inheritance, inheritance, my money, right in front of all of the other parents and the children. It's no surprise she received such a shock from hearing that.
ジェシカちゃん、どうかお父さんとお母さんのことを嫌いにならないで。理解しろとまでは言わないから、せめてどうか嫌いにならないであげて。
Oh, I'm pretty sure everyone else somewhere, like, okay, I wouldn't say everyone. I'm pretty sure like some would still have this sort of personal grudge of the sort.
わかってるよ。少し放っておいてくれよ。
Now that is a different angry face right here. 6 years ago, I would have kept taunting Jessica even after she got all dejected. But I guess I really have grown over this last 6 years. I realized it'd be better to leave Jessica alone right now. Jessica suddenly looked away sulkily and left the parlor. She probably wanted to be alone for a while. I could do nothing but wordlessly watch her back as she left.
そういえば、マリアちゃんはどこに行ったんだろ
That's a good question. Where the hell did Maria went after all this happening?
多分まだ肖像画の前でいじけてるんだろうぜ。
Well, Maria truly looked up to witches, and she'd expected that coming in direct contact with Beatrice and receiving the letter as proof would surprise everyone and make them happy. However, the adults had doubted its authenticity and whatever you call it, thoroughly bombarding Maria with questions and refusing to accept her story. Even for me, it wasn't hard to imagine how much that must have hurt Maria. We couldn't speak to Maria or Jessica. Yeah, because Jessica just told you guys to fuck off. She had enough. She had more than enough for that. In the end, George, Aniki, and I just abandoned ourselves to the sound of the falling rain in the dark night.
台風はどんな感じなんだろうね。ニュースをやってないかな。
What, you guys don't have a TV in the mansion? Oh wait, you have it in the freaking guest house. I don't know about in the mansion. George Aniki started walking over to the corner of the parlor where the television was. Okay, so you guys have a television. Yeah, okay. I thought the mansion's gonna be boring as shit. He hadn't called me over, and I really couldn't have cared less where the typhoon was on the sea now. So without going over to the television, I loitered around the window.
そんなに風は出てなさそうだけど、海の上はひどいのかしらね。天気予報では暴風警報も聞いてたんだけど。
キリエさんか。
Oh. Kiri-san or Kyrie.
大人たちの積もる話はどんな感じなんすか？
I don't think it's that smoothly, but sure, whatever that assumption you're making. Oh wait, I forgot. Battler was just being snarky about it. She seemed to catch the sarcasm. Kyrie-san shrugged.
この胃の痛くなる話は徹夜で続くのかしら。嫌になるわ。
まあせいぜいよろしく。じい様の財産分配についてハゲタカごっこをお楽しみくださいってんだ。最低の気分だぜ。
それに関しては同感よ。バトラ君みたいに席が外せるなら私もそうしたいわ。でもそうもいかない。たとえ発言権がなくてもね。パートナーも大変よ。
Kyrie-san took a deep breath, smiling bitterly. That's right. They probably wouldn't let Kyrie-san speak since she only married into the family. Still, as Dad's partner, she'd had no choice but to stay by his side and support him. She's probably had to bear the full brunt of this mental pressure much more than me. I wasn't going to apologize, but realizing that I'd spoken too harshly, I cut the sarcasm for the time being.
どんな感じなんすか？相変わらず謎の魔女ベアトリーチェの話題で持ちきりですか？
まあね。あの人たちはおじい様が亡くなった時の遺産分配について兄弟4人で話をまとめようとずっと密約を重ねてきた。そこへ未知の5人目が現れて話をややこしくしようっていうんだから穏便な話のわけもないわ。
Well then.
互いを罵り合ったりかと思えば共闘しようってことになったり。 夏日姉さんでなくても頭痛がしてくるところよ。
Well, before I get interrupted from here, we'll pick it off for the next part. So, like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all later. Y'all have a good one.